Hello, I'm Tilly Douglas and today I want to show you how to crochet these really easy pumpkins. It's the simplest way possible to make a crochet pumpkin, and I've had so much fun. I've made loads of them. I get a bit addicted to making things like this because I just love them so much. You can make them out of any yarn you want and they're so effective. So easy to make. Just simple stitches and very easy to put together. So I've made one from this big size like this to this teeny tiny little one, which I love. I think it's so cute. That's so lovely. So this one I made out of James C. Brett marble chunky yarn. So literally you can use any type of yarn you want. And this little tiddly one, little cutesy one, I made out of, this was some of my mum's stash. It's Empress fine quality crochet cotton, and she had this for years, and I've got a few different colours in this, and see how fine that is. So from a chunky to a really fine, and that made that little cutesy one. And for that one I used a 1.75mm crochet hook, so it really is quite tiny. But I have made another one out of this yarn. So this was also out of my mum's stash, and hasn't got a label, so I don't know what sort it is, but it's got nice, it's fluffy yarn. It's really quite nice. It's lovely and soft. So I thought I'll give this one a go as well. And for this one I used a 1.5mm crochet hook, so even smaller. So we'll see at the end what this one turns out like, because I haven't actually put it together yet. I've not tried this one. I've only done the basics. So that's the basics of how you do your pumpkin. And it is so easy. For this one, out of this nice soft green yarn, all I did was a chain 16, and then I did 15 single crochets across, and all the way across in the back loops only. And this was 5 centimeters across by 10 centimeters long. So I just keep crocheting in the back loops only until I've got whatever this size is, and you can do whatever you want. I did this for this big one, I chained 41, and then I did 40 half double crochets across in the back loop only. So that makes a nice big one. And obviously for this one I wanted a teeny tiny one, so I started off with a chain of 16 and then 15 single crochets in the back loop only. So it was 5 centimeters by 10 centimeters, and for this particular one this was 35 rows. And for this little one I chained 16 exactly the same, and 15 single crochets across exactly the same way, and it was 5 centimeters long by 10 centimeters, exactly the same as that, but I use a 1.75mm hook for that one and a 1.5mm hook for this one. So I'm going to put this one together. I'll show you at the end how that one turns out, because obviously I've still got to finish that one off, but in this video I'm going to show you how I made this one. So we'll get on and make it, and you'll see just how easy they are to make. So for this one I'm going to use this Aran weight yarn, and I'd usually use a hook size of about 5mm or 4.5mm, but I'm going to go down a size, or even a size and a half, depending on how tight you crochet really. I'm going to use a 3.5mm, which is an E, and this is just to make sure that the stuffing doesn't show through the fabric when it's all finished. So I'm going to start off by doing a chain of 21, and I'm going to leave quite a long tail, about an 8-inch or so tail, because we're going to use that to sew in one of the ends afterwards. And I'm going to do just a simple slip knot and then chain 21. So there's our chain of 21. Now we're going to work in the second chain from the hook, and we're going to do half double crochets. Now, because we're using a hook that is quite a lot smaller than is recommended for this yarn, it will curl up, but don't worry about that. It will all sort itself out in the end. So we're going to do half double crochets, and we're going to go into the second chain from the hook, which is this one here, with half double crochets. So we yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a yarn. So we've got 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops together. And also, because we're using a smaller hook, sometimes your yarn might slip out of your hook because it's not quite big enough, but just worth persevering with. So we're going to do 20 half double crochets all the way across, and I don't worry about trying to go in the back loop, the little bump at the back, or going through 2 loops. I just go through one of those loops on the chain, in the chains. So we've done one, go into the next one and do another half double crochet. So go all the way across until we've got 20 half double crochets. So there's our 20 half double crochets, and as I said, it is curling up, but don't worry about it, it'll be absolutely fine. So there's our first row of 20 half double crochets, and now we're going to chain 1 and turn a work, and then we're going to do 20 half double crochets all the way back, but we're going to work in the back loop only. So that was this little one at the back. So where you've got the V there, I'm just going to go into that back loop there. And the stitch we need to make sure we get into is the one right at the bottom of this first chain that we've done. So yarn over and go into the very first stitch there and do a half double crochet in the back loop only. And we're going to do that all the way across until we've got 20 half double crochets. So I've done 18 half double crochets, and I just wanted to stop before I got to the end just to show you how to get that last stitch. Just count your stitches as you go, so you make sure you get that very last one. So I've got 18 there, so do the next one, 19, and then just make sure to get that very last stitch there, and it's right on that little bend, but make sure you get that back loop of that one. And there's our second row of half double crochets. So we're going to do exactly the same and repeat that row until we've got the length that we want. So we're going to chain 1, turn our work and do a half double crochet in that very first stitch there, into the back loop only, and then just repeating that all the way across until we've got 20. So that's our third row of half double crochets. So we're going to do exactly the same, chain 1 and do exactly the same, just keep going, doing 20 half double crochets, chain 1 at the end, turn your work and 20 half double crochets again until we've got the length that we want. And what I tend to do is measure this. So that's 11 centimeters. So I would do it until it was 22 centimeters long. So twice as wide as that is the length. If you haven't got a tape measure, don't worry if you haven't got a tape measure. You can just use a piece of yarn or anything you like, really. Just use a piece of yarn, measure that, and then do twice the length. You don't need to buy anything This is a great way to use up all your scrap yarn. It's nice and cheap to do. Just use what you've got. So we're going to keep going. I'm going to keep going on this one until it's 22 centimeters long. You can keep going to get to whatever size you want. If you want your pumpkin to be fatter, rounder, then you could do them longer. If you want your pumpkin to be taller, do more stitches, do more chains at the beginning. So with these, they're brilliant because you can just do whatever sizes you want. So I'm going to keep going until I've got my length to 22 centimeters, and then I will meet you back at the end when I've done that. So that's my piece all finished, and I've done 27 rows, and I've got 22 centimeters. Doesn't have to be exact. So that's it. Nice straight edges because started in the first and continued to the last stitch. Makes it nice and straight. So all we're going to do now, that was where my last stitch finished. So we're just going to pull that yarn through, and we're going to give a nice long tail because we need to tie this all around our pumpkin. So just snip that off and pull it through and pull that tight. So just to give you some examples of how these can vary with different yarns, this was a lot thinner yarn that I used, and I chained exactly the same. I chained 21 and then did 20 half double crochets across, and the size of this is 8 centimeters by 16 centimeters. So that gives you an idea of the different sizes for the different thicknesses of the yarn. And this one was the same yarn as that, but with this one I did single crochets in the back loop only. So as you can see, it's slightly longer, so I'd say 1 row longer, but 8 centimeters by about 16, just slightly longer. And for that one I did 45 rows of single crochet in the back loop only. So it gives a denser fabric doing the single crochet. So this is the double crochet, and this is the single crochet. So it gives a lot denser fabric. When it's stretched, you still get those nice ridges for the pumpkin shape. And the ridges are caused by doing the back loop only stitches. It gives that nice detail. So we're at this stage now. We've got our long tail this end and our short tail this end. This is the way where we started with our first chain, our starting chain, and we're going to thread this shorter end onto our darning needle. And we're going to bring these two ends together. It doesn't matter which way you do it, you can do it either way, it doesn't matter. And we're going to bring those two edges up together. Now what I'm going to do is go through that first stitch with the 2 loops and go into 1 loop, the front loop of the next stitch on the other side, and just sew those together. I'm going to do that all the way across. Pick those 2 loops up there and that first loop there and sew it together all the way across. And then I'm going to weave that end just down a little bit, just to secure it a little bit further. Pull that through. and then turn it inside out the other way, so this loop, this bit of sewing is on the inside of our pumpkin, and there's our join there. And now we're going to take this end and thread that onto our darning needle. And we're just going to do a running stitch all the way around. And I'm not very fussy with this at all. Just weave it in and out. It is a lot easier if you have a bit of a longer needle for this. But if you haven't got one, just use whatever needles you've got. Just pull it through and just keep weaving it all the way around. Don't have to pick up any particular stitch. I just do them about roughly 1/2 centimetre long, but it really doesn't matter. That's why these are just so simple. You really don't have to be precise with any of this stitching or anything. There, that's got to the end. Now we're just going to cinch it all shut. We just pull the end and pull those all nicely together. Just close it up like that. So there will still be a little hole in there, so just pull it up tight, not too tight where you break the yarn. And then we're just going to go across there, push the needle through, so that will cinch it up a bit more, and do just 3 or 4 stitches across every now and again like that, and just pull it up into the next side. Just to close that gap up. You really don't have to be special at all. You don't have to be precise. You don't have to be an excellent sewer. You're just closing that gap up. There, that's fine. And then we're going to poke that needle through and bring it out the other side. And then we're going to do exactly the same this side, but we're going to weave it all in. But before we close it all up, we're going to put the stuffing in. But I just like to do this part first, because then the stuffing doesn't get in the way. So just cinching that up a bit. Just weave it in and out, exactly the same as we did before. There, we've got back to the other side, because there's the piece of yarn that's coming up from the other end. Now, I'm just going to leave that open for now. So, now I'm going to use this toy stuffing to stuff it. Now, if you haven't got toy stuffing, you can use yarn ends. I save all my yarn ends and I use them for stuffing, and they work brilliantly. If you haven't got yarn ends and you haven't got stuffing, you could use the contents out of an old pillow, or you can use cut up clothes. Just cut up really small and use that as stuffing. Anything that you like, anything that you've got around, so we don't have to keep spending money on things. Just use what you've got. So we're going to stuff this there. I think that's nicely filled. It's still nice and squishy, but we're going to pull this down so it doesn't want to be overly filled, but you can always add more to it if you think it needs it. Just cinch it up a bit and see how it looks, see how it all feels. I think I might just put a little bit more in that. So we can just pull it open again and put some more in. There, I think that's a bit better. And then just cinch it all up. Make sure there's none of that stuffing sticking out. And then we're going to do exactly the same as we did on the other side. Go in that side, pull it through. Go through another part on the other side. Pull it nice and tight, but without breaking the yarn. And now we've got a nice round shape. But to make it more into a pumpkin shape, what we're going to do is we're going to go straight down the centre. Now this is where you really do need a longer needle if possible. And we're going to pull it out the other end. And then as we pull that down, push it down with your thumb and hold on to it there. And then we can do a couple of stitches in here to secure it. I'm going to do this a couple of times. That just ties it off a bit by doing a couple of stitches. And that holds it down a bit. We're going to go back through and come out that top side, and we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to push it down with our thumb, hold on to it, mind you don't stick the needle through your finger, come out the bottom side again and keep pushing that down and pulling on the bottom, but not too hard so you break the yarn, and do a couple of stitches to tie it off, to secure it again. There, now that's looking a bit more like a pumpkin. Now we've got another step to do before we finish with this yarn, which is why I've left a long tail like this. We're going to go all the way around from the bottom and go straight in the top and push it down and come out the bottom again. Pull that down so we get those nice little shapes down the side, and then pull that so it's tight, and then we're going to go up into the top again, down through the top, out through the bottom, and we're just going to place that around a little bit further so we've got a nice little segment. And if you think, do it in half, and then I like to have two on each half, so you've got 3 segments. So there's one segment, you have 1 segment here and 1 segment here, so 6 in total all the way around. And then go round again, down into through the top into the bottom. So we've got 1 here, 1 here, and then we're going to put 1 around there and pull it tight. up around the top, down, out the bottom again, another little segment, and pull it tight, around, down, there, another little segment, and we'll just get one in here. So down through the top, out through the bottom, just place it where you want it before you pull it tight. There. And then hold on to it with your thumb and do some more stitches just to hold it in place on the bottom side. There, just to secure that off, you just go up and out to the side and then just snip that off. So now we've got our pumpkin shape, and all we need to do now is to do the stem. So to do our stem, we're going to do a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 4, and then we're going to do a slip stitch into that first chain, and then chain 1. And then we're going to find that centre. You might just need to put your crochet hook in there and give it a little wiggle to find the centre so it opens it up. And there is where we're going to be working into. So we're going to do 8 single crochet into that hole. And as we do it, we're just going to work over this tail end so we don't have to sew it in later. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to slip stitch to that first one, the first single crochet that we made. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet in all the stitches around. We can pull that tight, it just closes up the gap, the little tail end. And I'm going to take the crochet hook out, and this is actually the wrong side, so we're going to turn it so the right side is on the outside. So your tail end is now in that little, looks like a little bird's nest. And then we're going to work all the way around. Just keep doing a single crochet in all the stitches around. And it is tight, but we do want it to be tight. So you might just have to really give your crochet hook a push to get it through there. And just keep doing single crochets all the way around. You don't need to do any more chains to chain up. You just keep single crochet all the way around until you've got the length of the stem that you want. And it really depends on the size of your pumpkin as to how many rows you do around. Just keep going until it looks about the right size. There, that's about the right size. So we're going to, once we've got the right size, the right length, we're going to pull a bit of yarn through. snip it off, giving it quite a long tail, and then pull it through. And we're going to get our needle and thread that yarn through the needle. So what we're going to do here is sew this in and out. We'll take the yarn up here. So in and out. Like that. And what we're doing is giving it a nice little bend. So we're going to go back down the same way, just weaving it in and out a little bit. Then out the bottom. And as we pull it down, give that little bend. So when we stick on our pumpkin, looks like it's just been cut off the pumpkin patch. So now we're going to sew it on. So make sure you've got your pumpkin up the right way. Flatter end is on the bottom. And we're just going to go into the yarn, into the little pumpkin, and sew it through like that. So pick up a few stitches and just pull it straight down like that. And then we're just going to go in and out, so stick it into the little stalk. Pick up some yarn of the pumpkin and pull it through. And then take it in to the end of the stalk, bottom of the stalk, and push it all the way down. It comes out the bottom at the centre. Pull it through. And then take it back in. And if we take out one of these holes, and back in the same hole, so we haven't got a stitch, and that just goes through the stuffing and helps secure it. And then out of one of the other holes there, just pull it through. Don't pull it too tight so it distorts your pumpkin like that. Just pull it through and snip it off. Like that. There. And there's our little pumpkin all finished. Doesn't it look fab? So this is how the little green one turned out that I was showing you how I started making it at the beginning of this video. And I think it's super cute. I love it. So as you can see, I've used the contrasting yarn that I did the stem with to do the lines around the pumpkin, and I think it looks lovely. It's not as small as the little yellow one because this is a thicker yarn, or it's still very fine, but it's not as fine as this very fine cotton that I used for the yellow one. But I think they're super cute. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and there will be a blog post with photo tutorials to show you how to make this as well at craftsspaceideas.com. I'll leave a link for that in the video description. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed the video, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. You can also use these as little mushrooms. If you turn it upside down, it looks a bit like a mushroom. But I love them. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.